Happy Friday, everyone. Here we are. I'm here with Betty Withrow and Roy DeCan. And today's been an interesting day. We're going to see if we can get our broadcast in before Roy gets hit by lightning, but that's another story. It's been one of those days. So our broadcast was our title was Influence and Publicity with Joie Gharrity, and something's happened, and Joie can't be here. So Betty is going to explain a little bit about introduce Joie, what she does, and why we wanted her to come with the topic today. We're going to talk about the topic, but she can just fill in the gaps. It's the tyranny of the title, right?
Yes. Well, it's your fault, Greg, for putting that in the title.
Yeah.
We'll start by pointing the finger with blame. It's an American tradition, and this is Friday, so you have to get everything out of the way. It's Greg's fault, it's my fault, and it's Roy's fault because we're here to bother you on Friday with topics that you need to know about. So yeah, I got a text from Joie about an hour ago saying that she wasn't feeling well, and so could she please take a rain check? We will have her on the show on a different day, and so I would just like to tell you about Joie anyway, because she's a great person. She's a dear friend of mine, and she's really, really good at what she does. Joie is a branding expert and a publicity expert. She has a very long history of being involved in publicity, having worked with a major corporation, which shall remain nameless because of the way corporations act, doing launches for their various programs, and decided that she just wanted to get out of Hollywood and do her own thing a few years ago, and is doing that. She wrote a book called Being Your Own Superstar, and I worked with her on that as her book coach along the developmental process. And so about Joie, what Joie does is lots of podcasting. She has her own TV network, which serves female entrepreneurs, and she's just totally into video all the way. She basically, as she puts it, runs with the podcasters and with the influencers. She knows what influence can do. I met Joie at a speaking event in our local business women's organization, and what really struck in my mind, well, several things, was first of all how she presented herself, very unusual way of just being very quiet and wearing black on the stage. But what she said that stuck in my mind was, when you have influence, people call you back. And I was like, yeah, okay, that kind of tells it all. And when you have influence, you shape the marketplace. You're not reacting to market trends. You're creating the market trends and making things happen in new and unusual and different ways. And that's what we're all about here at Total Traffic and Conversion. So that's my introduction to our guest, who couldn't be here today, but you will have the pleasure of meeting her in the near future, I hope. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much. Yeah, so it's talking about influence. It's really, I think sometimes people get frustrated with celebrities and things like that, and it's easy to complain about it, but really it's amazing. I know some musicians who, if they want to, they can choose to get together and raise $1 million for a charity. And some people, like the Kim Kardashian, if she mentions something, that can change worlds. And if you you were mentioned or get on the Oprah Winfrey show, or even the Shark Tank or something like that. So what we normally do, we do a lot of online stuff. We do some video, we do some social media marketing, and then some people do paid advertising, but the influence and publicity is a different animal, really. And it's something that needs to go in the mix. I've been helping with some drama, sort of stage productions and music concerts in the Vancouver area. And that's almost all publicity. We run some paid ads. We make sure everybody can find the information, but mostly it's publicity. The uh, the people involved getting on radio shows, getting interviewed, getting articles in newspapers, all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, what we were I think Betty said this is kind of a brainstorming session. We're going to brainstorm about this topic here. So Roy, why don't you put in your input here and perspective?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about this because, well, we love to collaborate anyway. And this to me is the next important collaboration when it finally all comes together for the right client. And I think we have one potential that it would be very good for. But when we find that out, and if it's really, and if it works as well as I think it will, there's probably going to be a number of others that, will fit as well. I'm going to be clicking on and off here once in a while to keep the noise down. There's a lot going on here. But at any rate, this is, we do the online presence thing very well. And I think a lot of people leave that part out when they use an influencer. They don't worry about their online presence. So, while this is ringing and causing all kinds of trouble too, I think when we put the online presence together with the influencer and with the publicity, this could really be powerful. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's always good to try it out on a client and make sure it works, and then we know what clients it'll work for in the future. But I'm really excited about this, and I'll be really happy the next time that we can get Joey on and get into it in more depth. And I'm gonna cut out here because I got some noise going on.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So Betty, you have a lot of the publicity and influence thing relates to book publishers, like book authors and that kind of thing. So what is your perspective on from that point of view?
Well, there's the fact that you want to get the spotlight on your book. So getting into the podcasting circuit and finding out where your audience is hanging out and kind of relentlessly letting people know that you have a book and that what your book is about and why they want to read your book and why they want to book you for their speaking gig and everything is a process. It can involve things like press releases too, press releases that are really well targeted and that go out to just masses and masses of outlets are a great strategy for letting the world know who you are and what you do. By the way, here's my dog.
Yeah.
The cuteness factor. So a coordinated strategy on the publicity angle is really important. And there are speakers bureaus that you can sign up for. I can definitely recommend one or two that are very effective and will tell you where are all the speaking gigs that you can use to promote your book. And again, there are podcasting directories and also services that you can sign up for to find out where the podcasts are. So any of those, all of those things at once depends how much time and energy you have to develop your publicity strategy. And a multi-pronged approach. The very first thing, where is your audience hanging out? Who do you really want to reach? And how do you want them to react? Do you want them to buy your book? Do you want them to book a session with you if you're a practitioner? Do you want them to buy your product if you have a product? So all of those things help to determine what kind of a strategy is going to work the best for you.
Yeah, Betty, you brought up press releases, and this is something that's worked very well for my clients in the past, because you can get a mass amount of people finding you at one time. And the other thing that I really like about it is you end up with some really good links, really strong links, which boost your SEO capability as well. So I love press releases, and so the excitement of adding that to the influencer and other aspects of publicity is something I'm really getting excited about. I can't wait till we can do this for the next client and maybe for many more after that, because we'll probably get excited about doing it and want to do it more often. Of course, they've got to have a budget for it, so we won't be able to do it for everybody, but the ones that we can, press releases have worked extremely well because they get a mass amount of people that are looking at them, so you get instantly known. But I love the SEO aspect of it too. And what happens with these press releases is they more often than not, they end up on page 1 of Google. So you also get seen there. It's just this whole thing is very exciting to me. I'm going to stop the noise now.
Yeah. So the other thing about press releases, like many, they can go to all sorts of outlets. They can go to television stations. They can go to print magazines. They can go to newspapers, radio stations, all that kind of thing. And many of these places are looking for content now, especially when they're having a hard time making money doing what they're doing. So you're actually doing them a service by announcing what it is. And if it's something that keeps, even like a book, if a review of a book that is in, they think it's worthwhile promoting, and you can get in front of hundreds, tens and hundreds of thousands of people, and for the, and it could take you less than a day, maybe less than an hour to write the press release in some cases. And it's something I think it's not for everything, it's not for every product, every service, every person. But if what you're doing fits in, if it's of a broad interest that, and even a niche interest where there's, it's worthwhile putting out a press release and letting people know what you're doing.
Yeah, and something just popped into my mind that I'd almost forgotten about, which is Help a Reporter Out, HARO, where it's a site where reporters post things that they want to interview people about or that they need information about. So various topics, if one of them fits you, Roy, you're muted there.
Yeah. I deliberately did that. That's really true if they're looking for something. But the other aspect closely tied to that is if you can tie in what you're doing to a trend, that can be really powerful. So but reporters are looking a lot of times for trends, but they also have other things they're trying to do. Yeah. And oftentimes it doesn't take much to adapt what you're trying to do to help them. And of course, that's going to end up helping you and your client, us and our clients.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And even people who don't have a budget can still construct publicity homegrown. You can call up your local paper and say, you guys need somebody to interview, and they're probably going to say yes.
Yeah.
Or send them your homegrown version of your press release, and they may call you and say, yeah, we want to interview you.
Yeah.
Or your local radio or TV station, because like Greg pointed out, they need content.
Yeah. I had an experience years ago. I was thinking that I might need to go pay for a print ad in a local publication in North Vancouver. And I had that idea, and within an hour, a reporter contacted me and wanted to do an interview with me. I don't even know how they found out about me or why, but says, well, that's way better than paying for something.
Yeah. I like it very much. Yeah, that's the intuitive channel on the universal radio frequency. See, that's what we're talking about, is get to the brainwave where the people that you want to reach live, and they may need a radio to make that patch through. But in Greg's case, his intuition drew in the right person at the right moment. That can work too.
That happens often, really.
I know.
If we can put out that on multiple universes, it will be golden.
That's right. That's the way. Diversify.
Well, then there's also Google and everybody else that listens to everything you say and any connection they could do to you. So that
Yeah.
helps as well.
Yeah. So I had a meeting with my on Wednesday with my client in Australia who's Buddhist, right? And I don't know if she was having trouble with her camera, right? So it's just her background image. And she says, I've transcended this world now. I am the beach. So there we
I
go.
like that way of thinking.
I
Yeah.
am the beach. We got a
Yeah.
beach right there with the footprints.
Yeah. Let go of those limitations and be that beach, right? I'm into that. Yeah.
Yeah, they only hold you back.
That's right. Yeah. That that word that starts with C and it has an apostrophe in it and ends with T. Don't use that word. Don't say that word. Don't think that word. Don't be that word.
Yeah,
It's not a nice word. So just saying, you can.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say something with my mic on.
I'm trying not to say something. There we go. Go, Roy, save me.
This is an interesting challenge, but I'm up for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Background noise.
Yeah, it's continual. Well, not continual, but
yeah,
but often.
Often.
I got that one just right. You don't know what you didn't hear.
Oh, I see. Okay, there we go. All right. I thought you were going to chip in with a comment.
He's trying to. This is the rhythm of that, like the
Like
rhythm
I
of
said,
that energy, right?
I'm up for the challenge.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just excited about this, and I kind of think about influence and publicity as the dynamic duo, but when you sit it on top of what we can do for already having client attraction, I guess it's the dynamic trio.
Yeah.
Which nobody else is doing. So I'm excited that we're going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And once again, we won't have competition in that realm.
Yeah. Well, we don't think in terms of competition anyway. We're originals,
Well, that's true. That's true.
We don't compete, we create, as Bob Proctor liked to say.
Yeah.
There we
Well,
go.
other people might want to compete, but
yeah,
it's a wild open field. Right?
Nobody wants to be us anyway.
Probably true. Probably
And the job's taken. But anyway, we should go back to part of this thing. The title was influence. And I guess the other word it could have been was influencer, because that's part of our discussion we're ongoing with a potential client is, probably needs an influencer. So what is that? Who is it? How do you, how would that work? Like what
Okay, well, I can share a little backstory on that from my conversation with Joey, which is a short personal conversation on our schedule. So we got into no details, but her comment was influencers are expensive. And she ran down to me about a campaign that she had been on. And when the influencers came into the game, everything changed. So, again, this is for people who have a budget or who have a bestie who's way up there in the you got to know this person category of people, or things like that. And however, influencers, as we've seen in the marketplace, can change the entire game for the better or for the worse. And like as you pointed out, Kim Kardashian can shift things by saying one thing, and another person can completely tank a beer company's sales by saying something else without even trying. I mean, that was clearly not the intent. So I think an important part of the influencer piece of the equation is having the right person allied with the right message that's true to the brand promise, because without that, all you're doing is throwing money out the window.
Yeah, for sure. Like that could be like some of the high-end influencers could charge millions of dollars just for holding something up and saying two sentences, and then they're gone. Right?
Yeah, right.
but for the right person, that $2 million could turn into a lot, so
Yeah.
we know, I guess one of the things we're probably encouraging all of our clients is to become their own influencers, right?
Yes.
Become the spokesperson for whatever it is they're doing. That's why we encourage people to do video, and we encourage people to get on the screen and do the video themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're a little bit loose and baggy like us, or you never know where the conversation's quite going to go. But
you never know.
That's part of our charm, I think. So,
well, yeah, we are who we say we are, which is all you can really ask of a person. And getting back to Joie and her book, and the premise of her book being your own superstar, as Greg just pointed out, you can become your own influencer by stepping into the spotlight, letting go of the limitations. As Roy was pointing out, all they do is hold you back, and being ready to acknowledge your own capabilities and expose your gifts and talents to the world with an open heart. That makes an influencer out of you, if you're willing to do that. Now, that means overcoming a lot of internal dialogue about how maybe you don't think you're good enough. Oh, I don't really look very good. What about this over here? That. Never mind. Nobody cares. What they want is to know that you're a real person with a real heart, and that you mean what you say and you do what you say you will do. That's what real influence is all about anyway. Who needs a bunch of phonies? We got plenty of them already.
Yeah, I like to have every client become the authority for their niche anyway, which is the beginning of becoming an influencer.
Right.
And it may not take a whole lot after that, but like Greg pointed out, video is really the best way. When people see your face continually and they hear your voice, they really feel that they know you. You might never even meet them, but they feel that they know you. And so you can, who knows what level you can take it to, but I think it all starts with being the authority in your niche. And that's the one thing I can't wait to talk to Joie about, because can an influencer be not affiliated in any way with your niche and still be important for you? I'm not sure. I want to ask her that question, because I always worry about that. If an influencer really doesn't know or care about anything you're doing, can they really be of any value? I don't know.
I think they can.
Never say that. It wouldn't be logical to me that they could.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, so, because that goes back to what I just said about if it's not coming from the heart, people know. I mean, you can pretend you care all day, but if you don't, they know that you don't care.
So going back to what you said, Betty, about getting on podcasts and shows, like I've known a few people who've become kind of accidental influencers. Like, like let's say there was one friend, there was something happened to be related to refugees and immigrants in Canada, and somebody called my friend who is a lawyer in that area and asked him for his opinion. Next thing you know, he gets called, and anytime it's sort of like the Rolodex. Oh, we need somebody to talk about this. Oh, let's phone Greg. Like you just get you get on the list. You're perceived as the expert for it, and you get called in, and it wasn't anything he did on purpose. It just happened.
And that's another point too. You and I were both in Bob Friedenthal's meeting this morning, and we could see clearly that one of the ways to build influence is to show up and become known as a reliable source of information for other people, so they're comfortable to send you a referral. Yeah. And when you hang out with people who are able to do that and respect your authority, that's a different form of influence. It may not be like big screen influence, but it can be very, very effective.
Yes. Yeah, showing up. That's a Woody Allen thing, right? 90% of success is simply showing up.
Yeah, showing up is, without that, you don't have much.
You don't have much, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been involved with some groups, and because I'm there every week, I get handed all kinds of things to do, which increases my influence. And it's basically because nobody else shows up every week. It's that simple. Just exactly what you're saying about Bob Friedenthal and his situation today. I wish it wasn't at that specific time. That is such a tough time for me on Fridays, but I'll make it when I can. But that is something I would really like to do.
We're always glad to see you, Roy. I can tell you when you're in the room, you're bringing so much value to everything that happens. Like when we were in Australia together, there was a bunch of people I would never know if it wasn't for you. So what goes around comes around, is that old saying. And so, make yourself a value to your community and build your influence in that room, and see where else you can go.
Yeah, I really want to. I've just got to make that time work for me better.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, but then once again, today it was a challenge.
Yeah.
Too much of a challenge.
Right. But then in the North American Collaboration Optimization group that you're leading, there's so much value in there. And when someone gets on the hot seat and you start asking the questions, I'm just like, this just opens up a whole new way of finding out who people are and gaining confidence that you can recommend them, and building our world-class community of awesome people.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to get to know people, because if you didn't put them on what's considered a hot seat like this, which it was last week or earlier this week, we finally had one. This was hot.
It really was.
This stump the guy in the seat, right?
Yeah. But I kind of warned him at the beginning, but he didn't know what I was warning him about when he came in. He came in kind of late, and I said, "Oh, you're going to really appreciate being the last person that showed up here." and I didn't tell him anymore. And then when he was introduced as the person to be on the hot seat, he figured out real quickly what I meant.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, it's all done with humor and grace and, genuine respect. But, asking the tough questions, it brings out a lot. Like you said, you find out things about a person that you're not going to find out in a normal conversation.
Yeah. Years ago, I got in. My kids were involved with the Vancouver Youth Symphony Orchestra, and I got invited to a meeting about the 75th anniversary coming up. And I guess they were looking for a chairperson for this committee, right? And at one point, I got up to go to the washroom, and one guy leaned over and says, don't go. He says, you'll end up being chair for sure if you go.
Anyway, that's something you want to do. You got to be careful.
That's how it's done.
It was funny. All the veterans, all the previous presidents, all had all their excuses why they couldn't do it handy, right? And there were two of us innocent parents who didn't have good excuses. I said, no experience, total incompetence, right? And they said, oh, perfect. anyway, the two of us ended up doing it. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. That's the thing about school committees. Like you said, if you're not in the room, they go, oh, well, she can do it,
Yeah.
Or other civic committees will do the same thing, like if you're trying to write.
Last one in gets elected.
Yeah. If you're trying to write a law or something, oh man, you're in trouble if you leave the room.
The only thing that saved it is that the musical director was pretty good Zen master with dealing with committees and things, right? So he would show up with everything fait accompli, right? He'd already arranged all this stuff. So everybody had, all the people who wanted to vote against everything didn't have a chance, really, right? They didn't have a opportunity. I ran into him a few years later, and he says, "Oh no, the other years were even worse." Anyway, it was a great event, but it was not for the faint of heart to get involved with some of these committees sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, if you can come in prepared, then whatever happens is good. You also know if you really want to get more involved or not, and so it's easier to stay out, and it's easier to get more involved if it's what you want to do. Right. But the preparation takes time, and a lot of times you don't have time to do that. But if you can, it can really be worthwhile.
Yep.
That happens in the corporate environment too. Sometimes they put together a group of people to come up with the decision when the reality is one of the managers already made a decision anyway. It doesn't really matter what you say or think, it's not going to happen.
Right.
And it does eat up a lot of money. So.
Yeah. You know, and then there's different kinds of influences. So when I just mentioned getting together to write a law, okay, and then the subject of committees came up, I went, okay, here's the time for the story of writing the plan for the management of the Big Sur section of the California Coastal Trail. Okay, it started with a local committee saying, no, we don't want somebody in Oakland drawing a line through Big Sur and telling us where the trail is going to be. So we formed an ad hoc committee. It started out with 26 people, and then when we got it down to 5 people, we started getting something done. It took us 2 years to write a planning document. Then it took 4 years to cram it through all the different agencies that are involved and get their feedback and adjust our proposal and everything, and so on and so on. Finally, after 11 years, it is law. You know, and so nobody can tell people in Big Sur, no, we're drawing this line and you guys have to live with it, which was the whole idea in the first place. So we'll see if they ever build the trail. Betty? But what's that?
You liked the result?
I like the results. My whole point was, I don't care where the trail goes. I just don't want somebody else telling us where it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then after we had gotten the respect of the various agencies, the locals themselves got together and drew the lines, which, you know, was great, because we were clear about what we could and could not do. And I just stepped back and said, great, you guys, thank you. You know, and then our state senator made sure that it happened. And so, you know, as I said, that it was accomplished as a democratic process. It was not fast. It was not really, honestly, that fun, but I learned an awful lot.
Sure.
And it had to get done, and somebody had to do it. So there you have it.
So I don't know if you know, Bonnie worked in the natural health industry for years. Mm-hmm. And at one point, all those dietary supplements and vitamins and stuff were illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was part of a group, and we went. One of the reasons we did the Natural Health Pioneers project to go interview a bunch of the pioneers is many of the people were instrumental in getting the laws changed. Like Bonnie actually went to a number of people we interviewed had gone to Washington to lobby for what ended up being the Dietary Supplement and Education Act, I think that's what it is. And you know, now you go into 7-Eleven and you can buy all that stuff in a gas station, right? But the people were arrested and you know, for selling that stuff.
Yeah.
They're talking about that stuff.
I know.
What do you think was the main reason that it was illegal for a while, Greg?
Well, to a degree today, there's kind of a bias towards sort of standard medicine and research-based things, and some of the dietary supplements are kind of fall outside of that, and they're harder to test. Like if you're in Europe, if you grew up in a different tradition, that was never even an issue. And if you know, I think when they looked at America, they said, "Are you guys on crack? Like, what's wrong with you?" You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, that's an interesting point. For a while in Big Sur, I was renting an Airbnb format with a small studio in my ranch house, and I had a lot of people from Europe come over, and they always wanted to talk about American politics and what we thought was going on, and then I would compare notes with them about what they thought was going on, and they were oftentimes quite mystified by, why are Americans such control freaks? What's that all about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a lot of it is they want to regulate things.
Yeah.
And control things.
Yeah.
For the sake of controlling. And some people will say Canada's even worse at that than the US. But,
right.
Yeah, they're both pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's you know, it's intended to be for people's protection, right? The part of it is why they like to get something certified. They want some kind of evidence that you did some kind of research and there's something behind it. It's not just a scam, right?
Right.
But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell no matter what. Like you really, nobody's equipped to get the research and understanding for a drug trial, for example, or almost anything, like even something by the time it hits Scientific American is really diluted a lot and in a way that most people can't understand. But the information that went behind it is way beyond what people beyond their pay scale.
Yeah, and then there's the other part about people going into studies with a preconceived agenda. I forget who said it, but it's a great quote. If you torture data long enough, it will confess to anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And
Good.
if you torture, if you work over suspects in the police station, they'll confess to anything. There's lots of, there are certain techniques that people use, and eventually people get so confused that they said, well, maybe I did it, or and because we're reliable witnesses about everything, right? It's a purple shirt.
Yeah. Well, we're all such dummies that we need to be protected from ourselves. That seems to be the trend in American culture. I mean, I hate to be a downer about this, but for the land of the free, I'd say that we're missing certain articles of consciousness.
Yeah,
on that.
Sometimes the idea is I want to do what I do to be free. And so what if it ruins your life, but I'm free?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it seems there are a lot of people that think that they know better than the average person. And so they have to tell them and they have to restrict them because that average person is really going to make mistakes.
Exactly. We're all such a bunch of dummies, like we have to be protected from ourselves. We should all be wearing mittens and snowshoes, whether it's snowing or not, All right. That was a little over the top. I agree. But, what are you going to do? It's Friday.
And you're still going to get hit by lightning while you're in the middle of a broadcast.
Don't talk about lightning. I've had enough of that.
Yeah, really. Don't joke about that one. It already hit too close to home not long ago, right? So let's not go there.
Way too close.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
So getting back to our topic.
But we digress. How unusual.
We digress. Influence and publicity.
Yeah.
So it actually, what we were talking about is related to publicity, right? Because there's a lot of people with different ideas about the way the world should work, and a lot of people are pretty quick to impose that on you in some one way or the other,
right.
And so that's kind of a negative publicity, I guess, in some ways. But it's and I guess our perception of all these things, like that's I think that's the thing with an influencer. As an influencer has the power to change the perception almost immediately.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about celebrity culture is that someone shows up in some kind of an outrageous outfit. The next thing you know, everybody wants to look like that, whether it looks good or not.
Well, if you go through like the decades of fashion, right? The 70s and the 80s, the 60s, it's all a little bit tragic in hindsight.
Yeah, almost all of them could have been better.
Yeah, well, that's a subject I could talk about that one for a long time. I have a great book that's about this thick. It's called Fashion, the Mirror of History, and it talks all about how humans have reflected their cultures through what we wear, indefinitely, and even with drawings to how to make this or that outfit. It's pretty amazing. Oh, yeah. But yeah, as you said, Greg, not always a good look. Let's just say
not always a good look. They had a really interesting. The Vancouver Art Gallery generally has, they have 2 or 3 exhibits at any given time. And then if it's all really bad, there's the Emily Carr room up at the top. So there's always something redeeming. But one time they had they've got a staircase around a space, right? Like that goes 4 floors.
Okay.
And what they had done in the space in between, they had recreated a kitchen from 5 different decades, right? The 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right?
Uh-huh.
So, I think in the 60s, the dominant color was turquoise or something.
No, that was the 50s. Avocado was the 60s.
50s, and then at one point you got into the black kitchens, and then the chrome kitchens, and the white kitchens, and kind of thing. So it was interesting to see like the styles through the ages, through the kitchen styles.
The other day in the parking lot nearby here, I saw a Barbie pink car, and I went, "Oh, that's right. It's now called Barbie pink. It's actually Schiaparelli pink, for Elsa who brought it to us, but now it's Barbie pink." And that's some influence because pink is now a big deal.
Yeah.
Like it always was, but it's a different kind of big deal.
On a call, everybody was calling me Barbie. So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It really wasn't pink, but it was close.
Yeah.
I'm gonna quote Al Woods here. Whoever said orange was the new pink was just wrong.
I agree. Pink is pink. There's nothing you can do about it.
I actually saw that. We were traveling through Germany, and the dominant color in Germany was orange, right? And then we went across into Austria, and pink was definitely prevalent, and other things. It was like the German fashion sense was bushwhacking, kind of highly athletic. And then there's a definite elegance that was in the Austrian side of things. You think it wouldn't be such a big difference from crossing a border, but there was.
Yeah. Truth lies in fine distinctions.
And like, have the Italians ever made a bad looking uniform for the Olympics? Really? They're usually pretty cool.
Yeah, Italians are good at fashion. Yeah. They always have been.
Yep.
Canada's had some really interesting and unfortunate Olympic uniforms over the years.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Well, all of ours aren't that great either. Some of them are very good, but some of them are definitely not.
I agree.
I don't know. They choose a designer and then they go with it, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Hockey uniforms. There's that thing back to retro hockey jerseys. Like I think the Vancouver Canucks at one time they have 5 or 6 different jerseys they would wear, depending. And one of the ones was the original design from when they started, which is pretty interesting. But they've had one they call the Halloween outfit is like a giant orange and black V. That's, for most people think that's in the tragic category.
I was going to say that will look good on everybody. Wow.
Yeah, the NFL goes through that. Occasionally they go back to decades ago uniforms, and most of them are not all that good looking at this point in time. But, but they do, they're dramatic one way or another.
Yeah.
They influence you.
I was going to say football. Now there's another kind of influence, right?
Yeah. Very strong.
So this goes back to which influencer is right for you. A football star is not a good influencer for a ladies' fashion brand, for instance, like, even if he's saying, "Whoa, she looks hot when she's wearing that," the women are not going to buy based on that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, choose your influencers carefully, and that all goes back to your branding, and that goes back to your publicity, and all of that goes back to your presence in the marketplace, which is what we're all about.
Yeah. So consistency.
Yeah.
So and branding, which is Joey's area. Is come up with a brand, a personal brand, which involves everything, really, your colors, your images, what you say, the messaging, all that kind of thing.
Exactly. I worked with her on my branding, and she helped me come up with the 3 golden apples for business writing success. And it's been very good for me to use in so many different contexts. And it was a distillation of, okay, what do you do and how do you do it? And then we came up with images and the feeling of it that works for my client base.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
I know I've countless times we've been in conversation, and then we got into Betty with her 3 golden apples process.
Yeah.
It's like a shorthand, right?
Yes, it is. And people identify that with my presence, and that's the whole idea in branding, Yeah. And it's shorthand for a very, as I said the other day, I was in the CIBN meeting, and Carrie said, okay, Betty, can you fill in 60 seconds while I make these breakout rooms? And I said, sure. So I gave a 1-minute version of the 3 golden apples. It came out pretty good. And I said, but I remember, people, I can talk about this for hours, and sometimes do.
And sometimes do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How much time do you have?
I'm very much interested in when we take a client and we get them to a certain level, and then we add the publicity and see how much further that takes them, and how quickly. And then if we can add the influencer and see how that goes, it would be nice to do them. I mean, it would be nice to do everything at once, but really we would learn the most if we could do them one at a time.
Sure.
So, so we're going to have fun with this when we finally get going with it. And I'm really looking forward to it.
That does remind me that we offer something. We offer online effectiveness review, really. So we have, you can sign up, and the 3 of us will do a review of how you look. But there's also a self-review, total traffic and conversion. And I'll try to put the link in the chat here. And that's a really good way of, what it asks you to do is put on your visitor's hat and take a look at your online, like your LinkedIn account, your social media accounts. If you got a YouTube channel, if you've got a website, if you don't have many of those things, then you're kind of starting from scratch. But if you do, the thing we want you to look at is it presenting the message that you want to present now? Like so many times we'll meet somebody in a networking group, and then we'll go to their LinkedIn channel, and then we'll go to their website, and whatever the LinkedIn channel may be reflecting something they used to do, and the website may be something they used to do. And we ourselves, we need to go and look at our own material to see if we're still representing what we want to do too. I think it's just a human thing. We get busy, but the exercise is really valid to try to, look at how you look to the outside world from an outside perspective. Some people can't do this. I know people are just psychologically not wired to do it. But if you can, look at your business, look at your website, look at everything you're doing, and talk to us. And our main area has been the online presence stuff, like the LinkedIn and the YouTube and the website and the blog posts and stuff. And the topic here is we're bringing more of the publicity and the influencer thing into it. So I guess the other way is, as we suggested, that you become your best influencer, and then we'll help you put together a coherent package so that you shine as that influencer, and everything else is consistent with that, what you want to do. So
yeah, you bring up a good point, Greg, that it would be good for them to look at their own accounts first and see if they're presenting them in the proper light. But when we look at it, we're going to take it way beyond that, because we're going to look at it not only from that standpoint, and are they getting their message across, but how do these search engines that are involved with these various applications, how do they look at it too, so they can get found more often? So we're going to add a lot on the top of that, But I think that's a really good way, is if they get started with looking at their properties themselves.
Yeah. Well, two things. If you go through the exercise on your own, it'll become evident that either you need help or you don't need help, right? And then it helps us if you come in with a pretty good assessment of what you've done, and then we look at it. Then we each have a different perspective on it, and then combined with what your impressions are, then we can come up with a good plan to be. And what we try to do is fill in the holes. Like, chances are that you're doing a couple of things really well, but other ones you just haven't really thought about for a year or ever. and we'll hope to add some things. And even for us, adding the influence and publicity aspect to what we do is something new, because we've been doing other things. It's just become evident that we need to give more attention to the branding, influence, and publicity added to the mix, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's always new things to learn.
And every time we add another collaborator, it just makes our solution that much better. As it happened with each of us can do a lot of good things on our own, but when we combine with one other person, it's quite a bit better. And combining with two other people is dramatically better. Now, what if we add a fourth? I mean, this could really be something else.
Yeah. For example, Joey, we consider as a collaborator, and we have one client in mind that she would be perfect for. So, we'll just get her to look after that part of it, and we do what we do. So, yeah. So I guess that's also, if you're interested in collaborating with us, give us a call.
Yeah, you should be on this Friday call.
On this Friday
we'll
call,
get to know you better, and we'll get to see where we think you could fit in with people that we're already working with, or could work with that added, the added increase in solution capability that collaborator could bring.
Yeah. We know some pretty dynamic people, and we're not shy about putting together solutions that work.
Yeah, putting together solutions that work. And we try to have fun.
Gotta have fun.
Gotta have fun.
So if you come on Friday, it could be an adventure.
It's going to be an adventure.
It's going to be an adventure.
But it could be very valuable for all of us.
That's right.
Very, very valuable. Yeah.
All at once. Yeah.
So I guess with that, maybe we can let everybody carry on with their Fridays, and we'll play our little video again.
Yeah.
And I put the link in for the effectiveness review. On that page, there's the free review and also the paid one. And there's an opportunity just to book an appointment with us. And we're trying to be everywhere. We're on LinkedIn and various networking groups, and
Facebook.
And contact us. You might even be able to phone us.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a real maybe.
You can always text us.
Yeah.
If
you're trying to get a hold of me, text first and warn me that you're phoning, because then maybe I'll answer. Otherwise, I'll just assume that you're a spammer.
Yeah, and answering the phone during a normal day is very difficult anyway. But a text, that's a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah, very difficult. I almost never hear the phone ring. It's gone. I get a notice after that I've missed a call. So I'm hopeless if you want to talk to me on the phone. But we like using LinkedIn messaging. Like almost all of our little collaborations, we'll create a LinkedIn group, or working with a client, we'll have a LinkedIn group, and that seems to work pretty well because it doesn't get stuck in junk mail. It doesn't, and most people get a notice on their phone that somebody's sent them a message. And they might even get an email for it, depending on how their alerts are set up. So we find that pretty reliable. Even when somebody's made an appointment, or I've made an appointment with somebody with a scheduling program, I almost assume that there's a really good chance that the person won't even know I made the appointment. So I try to connect with LinkedIn
all too often.
Send them with a LinkedIn message. So that's what we like doing. But everybody likes to communicate in their own way. And all we're saying was there's various ways you can contact us, and you can go to the website, find out a little bit more about us, and do that self-evaluation of your online assets.
Yeah. Reach out, connect. Let's start talking. Let's do it.
Just do it. There we go.
Yes. That's
all right. Okay.
Yeah, that could be used.
That could be used. Yeah. Some company might want to use it in their advertising campaigns.
Yeah, for your brand.
All right. Here goes. Happy Friday, everyone.